Shalom, sisters. Shalom, shalom. Call Halayim Layahal Bashem Yahushai for allowing us to see another day and giving us another opportunity to be virtuous daughters of Zion. Shabbat Shalom. Well, the Sabbath is about already over for a lot of y'all. It's 8:20 over here. While I'm recording, it's 8:20. So the sun hasn't gone all the way down, so my Sabbath is not all the way over technically. But nevertheless, in this video, I'm going to go into how faith is a gift, right? So without further ado, I'm just gonna, read the notes that I have when I had this, revelation, I would say, about how faith is a gift. So, I've always wondered why people were called to come into the truth and know who they are just to fall out. I thought knowing who you were was going to remove all the seals from your eyes and completely leave the world behind. But that's not always the case. For those who walked away from the truth usually tends to go back to what they once believed or dive into something worse. Either way, they're all met with the same fate. So I'm going to stop right there. When I first came into this walk and knowing that I was an Israelite, and, reading the curses and, just seeing the brothers teach, when it comes to the curses and whatnot, it was an eye-opener, and it removed a really heavy burden off of me, because I've always wondered who and where did I come from, because I've always been told that I was Black or African American, but just did not know, I just felt like it wasn't enough. And how these other groups of people, they know where they come from and who they were, etc., etc. And when it comes to me, and I'm sure with all of us who are in this walk, we didn't really have an understanding of where we came from. And I'll say, for me personally, I can only go back to, my grandfather, because my great-grandfather on my dad's side, he passed away, and I really don't know much about my dad's side. I just know that I'm an Israelite because I fit these curses to a T. You know what I'm saying? So it's just when you find out who you are and you know that you're the Most High's chosen, it just makes you feel good. And I've always wondered, why do people turn back and go back to what they once believed or dive into something worse? Why was that? And then I had the I wouldn't say revelation, I just came to this conclusion, I would say, that faith is truly a gift, because if it wasn't, then we would all believe, and there wouldn't be no reason for us to turn back, So, the first scripture that I have is Revelations 21:8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And I'm going back to the notes that I had took for this video. So I came to the conclusion that it takes faith to believe first. Then that faith will be utilized with everything else that comes to play, as in being more knowledgeable, or it can be taken away for many different reasons. Whatever the case may be, faith and conclusion is the most important before anything. Faith is what brings you in, and faith is what drives you until salvation. So the next scripture that I have is Romans 10:14-17. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah saith, Lord, who had believed our report? So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High, right? Verse 17 is the most important because you have to believe in the words before anything else when you first come into this walk. When somebody who is a preacher, they're coming to you about you're an Israelite, you're God's chosen people, etc., you believe that, and then you're drawn in, for the most part. Because, there are certain people that know that they're Israelites, and that's just that, when it comes to everything else, like they don't receive that, they don't accept it. But you who are in this walk currently, you believed that you're an Israelite and everything that came with it, So you have to first believe in the word in order for you to be called in, right? Now the next scripture that I have is Hebrews 10:38. Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. Now the scripture says that the just shall live by faith, but what causes those to lose faith and draw back? As we know by now, being called back to the Most High and walking in this truth is not an easy task. In Sirach, it says to prepare ourselves for temptation, and also that the way of the kingdom is a straight and narrow, right? Meaning that it is a very hard path that not many can go through. That's why it's imperative to have faith, but also being planted in good ground. Because again, faith is a gift that can be taken away or increased, right? So, how Christians, Christians that's in Christianity who don't even keep no liquor laws or whatever, they have no moral compass. They always say that faith walk isn't a cakewalk. And we can truly apply that to us who truly strive to do what is pleasing in the sight of the Most High by keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability and having faith, right? And everything that comes with it, and being in this flesh, like, it's not easy. And then when you first come into this walk, like, all the demons that you've been fighting in the world, and well, you wasn't really fighting it in the world, you were more so like living in it or suppressing, when it comes to like mental battles, like you're suppressing all those things, right? But when you come into this walk and you try to walk in a path that is pleasing to the Most High, you're trying to walk towards, to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, that's when Satan is really like at the heel of your foot. He's really like on you. Like all these demons are amplified, and not a lot of people are strong enough to really deal with that. Or, I'll say for me, like when I first came to this walk, I thought that we were all going to be unified. I thought that this was going to be like a beautiful thing where, we know who we are. We shared the same experience. I thought that it would be like brotherly love, sisterly love, all that stuff. But then not too long after that thought process, I was hit with reality real quick. I came across a lot of bad people that's supposed to believe in the same thing that I believe in, and all that stuff. And that could take a toll on somebody too, where like they envision something, and then when they're in it, it's not what they envisioned, and it is like, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many different reasons and different, trials can shake up somebody to where they just don't believe anymore and they fall away. So that's why, faith is so important. It because it's what drives you and fuels you to endure the trials and tribulations that come with this walk, right? And then also you have to be planted in good ground, because in the parable that Yahushua has spoke, where it talks about the different seeds and being planted in good ground or rocky, actually, I don't even want to butcher that. I want to go to that parable where Yahushua talks about the seeds being planted in different places, and you want to be planted in the good ground, because when you're planted in the good ground, you're rooted. You're spiritually rooted. So this is Matthew, I believe, chapter 13. I want to start at verse 18. Matthew 13 and 18. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the seed is he, Salakia, the same is he that heareth the word, and with joy receiveth it. Yet had he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitful of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receives seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some an hundredfold, some 60, some 30. So, being able to be fully rooted in good ground and having faith, that is the most important, and that's something that the Most High and Yahushua is looking for when it comes to bringing forth the first fruits, I would say, right? But that's all that I have. If anybody else has anything else that they want to add or share, or any scriptures that they want to bring out, you can put those down in the comments. But I'm going to go ahead and close out the Sabbath for me. The sun is about to go down. So, again, all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for allowing us to see another day and allowing us to see another Sabbath for those that are keeping the lunar Shabbat. Until next time, Shalom.